Alexander the Great. He was a king, a warrior, a legend, a man who built an empire stretching from Greece to India. But behind the myths and the glory lies a story of ambition and a relentless drive for power. Was he truly the greatest general in history, or just a man blinded by ambition? Let's dive deep into the life, conquests, and mysteries of Alexander the Great. Alexander was born in 356 BCE in the city of Pella, the capital of the Macedonian kingdom. His father, King Philip II, was a brilliant military leader who transformed Macedonia into a powerful state. His mother, Olympias, was a woman of fierce ambition, deeply spiritual, and rumored to have told Alexander that he was the son of Zeus. But Alexander's childhood was not just one of luxury, it was one of preparation. His father ensured he was trained in combat, horsemanship, and leadership from a young age. His mother filled his mind with ideas of divine destiny. And then there was one man who would shape his mind forever: Aristotle. The great philosopher Aristotle became Alexander's tutor, teaching him philosophy, science, medicine, and the art of leadership. It was Aristotle who introduced him to the Iliad, the epic tale of Achilles, a hero Alexander idolized. It is said that he carried a copy of the Iliad with him throughout his life. One of the most famous stories of his youth is how he tamed the wild horse Bucephalus, a beast no one could control. Alexander realized that the horse was afraid of its own shadow and turned it toward the sun with gentle confidence. He mounted it, earning the admiration of all, including his father, who told him, "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambitions. Macedonia is too small for you." In 336 BCE, Philip II was assassinated at a wedding. Some suspect Olympias had a hand in it, clearing the way for her son to take the throne. At just 20 years old, Alexander became king, but his rule was immediately challenged. Many Greek city-states saw Philip's death as an opportunity to break free from Macedonian rule. But Alexander acted swiftly. He crushed rebellions in Thebes, Athens, and Sparta. His response to Thebes was brutal. He destroyed the city, sparing only its temples and the house of the poet Pindar. This sent a clear message: Alexander was not to be underestimated. With Greece under control, Alexander turned to his ultimate goal, conquering the Persian Empire. In 334 BCE, with 40,000 men, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia, just as the Greek heroes of legend had done before him. His first test came at the Battle of Granicus, where he faced the Persian satraps. Ignoring his general's cautious advice, Alexander led a direct charge across the river, nearly losing his life but ultimately securing a decisive victory. In the city of Gordium, he encountered the famous Gordian knot, an ancient puzzle said to be impossible to untangle. A prophecy claimed that whoever unraveled it would rule all of Asia. Alexander, ever the man of action, simply drew his sword and cut the knot in half, declaring, "It is done." In 333 BCE, Alexander faced King Darius III himself at the Battle of Issus. Though outnumbered, he outmaneuvered the Persian forces, forcing Darius to flee, leaving behind his family. In an act of unexpected kindness, Alexander treated Darius' wife and daughters with great respect. After securing victories in Persia, Alexander marched into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator. The Egyptians, weary of Persian rule, declared him pharaoh. But what happened next is one of the most mysterious events of his life. He traveled to the Oracle of Siwa, deep in the desert. The priest proclaimed him to be the son of Zeus Ammon. Alexander never revealed exactly what was said, but from that moment on, he seemed to truly believe in his divine destiny. In Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria, which would become one of the greatest centers of learning and culture in history. In 331 BCE, at the Battle of Gaugamela, Alexander faced Darius III one last time. The Persian king had gathered a massive army, but Alexander's superior tactics led to a stunning victory. Once again, Darius fled, but this time his own men betrayed and killed him. With Darius dead, Alexander declared himself king of Persia and adopted Persian customs. This alienated some of his Greek followers, but Alexander saw himself as the ruler of a united world, not just a Greek king. In 326 BCE, Alexander reached India, where he faced his most formidable opponent, King Porus. The battle was fierce, and for the first time, Alexander witnessed the terrifying power of war elephants. Though victorious, his men were exhausted. They refused to march further, and Alexander, heartbroken, was forced to turn back. By 323 BCE, Alexander the Great was at the height of his power. He ruled over the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and into India. But despite his victories, his dream of further conquest remained unfulfilled. He had set his sights on Arabia and had ambitious plans to explore the farthest corners of the known world. Yet fate had a different plan. In June of 323 BCE, at just 32 years old, Alexander suddenly fell gravely ill in the city of Babylon, and within days the greatest conqueror in history was dead. But how did he die? Was it disease, poison, or something more mysterious? On the night of June 1, 323 BCE, Alexander attended a banquet in the palace of Babylon. According to one account, he drank a large cup of wine in honor of the gods. Moments later, he reportedly screamed in agony, clutching his stomach as pain overwhelmed him. Over the next 12 days, his condition deteriorated. Fever racked his body, he could barely speak, and he gradually became paralyzed. His generals watched helplessly as the once mighty Alexander lay dying before their eyes. As his condition worsened, Alexander's generals, known as the Diadochi, gathered around him, desperate to know who would inherit his vast empire. But when asked to name his successor, Alexander reportedly whispered only these words, "To the strongest." These words would plunge his empire into chaos, leading to wars among his former generals, each vying for power. Another version of the story claims that when asked about his kingdom, he said, "I foresee great funeral games after my death," a chilling prediction that came true, as his once unified empire would soon be divided into warring factions. For over 2,300 years, historians have debated the true cause of Alexander's death. Here are the most prominent theories. Some historians believe Alexander died from a disease such as malaria, typhoid fever, or West Nile virus, which were common in ancient Mesopotamia. Symptoms of typhoid fever, high fever, abdominal pain, and progressive weakness match the descriptions of his slow decline. Others argue that Alexander was poisoned by one of his own men. His empire was filled with political intrigue, and his sudden death raised suspicion. Theories suggest that one of his generals, possibly Antipater, who had been left to govern Macedonia, orchestrated his murder. One ancient account claims that the poison was so rare and slow-acting that it took days to take effect. But historians today question this theory, as no known poison of the time could cause such a prolonged death. A more modern theory suggests that Alexander suffered from Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare autoimmune disease that can cause fever, paralysis, and a slow, agonizing death. If true, this would explain why he remained mentally sharp even as his body shut down. One of the strangest theories comes from ancient sources claiming that Alexander's body did not decay for 6 days after his death, something that was seen as proof of his divine status. Some scientists today speculate that he may have suffered from a condition called catalepsy, where the body goes into a death-like state, but the person remains alive. If this was the case, could Alexander have been buried alive? After his death, Alexander's body was placed in a golden sarcophagus and prepared for transport back to Macedonia, but his final resting place would become one of the greatest mysteries in history. As his funeral procession moved through Syria, one of his former generals, Ptolemy, intercepted it and took Alexander's body to Egypt. He placed it in the city of Alexandria, where it became a site of great pilgrimage. Even the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar later visited Alexander's tomb, paying homage to the great conqueror. But over time, the location of Alexander's tomb was lost. Some believe it lies hidden beneath the modern city of Alexandria. Others claim it was moved or destroyed. To this day, no one has found the true tomb of Alexander the Great, one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. Without a clear heir, Alexander's empire collapsed into chaos. His top generals, the Diadochi, fought for control, leading to a series of wars that divided the empire into separate kingdoms. His mother, Olympias, his wife, Roxana, and his infant son, Alexander IV, were all eventually murdered in the struggle for power. What had taken Alexander just over a decade to conquer fell apart within years. Despite the fall of his empire, Alexander's influence never faded. His conquests spread Greek culture across 3 continents, leading to what historians call the Hellenistic Age. Many cities he founded, like Alexandria in Egypt, became great centers of learning, science, and philosophy. Even today, more than 20 cities bear his name. His tactics are still studied in military academies. His legend continues to inspire books, movies, and stories. In many ways, Alexander never truly died. Was he a hero or a tyrant? A visionary or a madman? What do you think? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.